Hi guys, Dr. Justin Buerta, the Tattoo Business Doc. So our website is live and going and there's a lot of videos on it and you'll see a quick screenshot of it. It's tattoobusinessdoc.co.za. It's very easy. Right guys, we've got to talk about death and it's difficult. I mean, nobody wants to talk about the morality as such, guys. You know, death has one of those unique aspects to bring the worst out of everyone. Now, I know most people have seen it on TV when you see the Will and Testament and Living Wills and those kind of things, you know, and you're like, it kind of, it doesn't seem to be that important, you know, but it is really, really important. I've seen families being torn apart because the Will and Testament was never discussed with them in the first place. Second place is, you know what, it's the last Will and Testament. It is your last wishes. You're no longer alive. So the only way you can say your goodbyes or whatever you want to is in your last will and testament. Now in South Africa, it's governed by the Wills Act number 7 of 1953, the Intestate Succession Act of 1987, Administration of Estates Act 1965, and obviously the Income Tax Act as it stands. But one additional thing I would put in there is the Trust Property Act of 1958, which governs trusts. Because you can also create a trust in your will to leave whatever you have, say for your grandchildren or their grandchildren, you know, if you're Johan Rupert or the Rothschilds or all those rich and famous families, most of them have got trusts. Everything is held in trust. That's how they protect their wealth. So that nobody ever actually owns the estates. You know, it just gets passed from generation to generation, and they either add to it or they don't add to it. And some just live off it, you know, the trust fund babies. But what you've got to understand, guys, is there's a lot of things that you've got to be very clear about. You know, you've got to say, is it going to my wife? Is it going to my children? In which relation? If you have firearms, you need to, in your will and testament, explicitly not only put the serial number of the weapon, but the name and everything. 9mm Beretta, serial number XXX, I bequeath to my brother or my sister or my son. But again, you need to know that those guys need to be able to get the licenses that they require. You know, and if any of the people are under the age of 18, they're not, it's difficult, you know, because they're not yet of age to really appreciate what they're being given. So a lot of people put it in trust, or what happens, it literally goes to the government and they put it in trust, and it's held in trust for 30 years, all right, until the minor becomes of age to actually inherit. Now that's a very complex story, but you know what, there's not enough time to go into that. All I want to do today is tell you that you have to just sit down with someone, put it on paper, guys. You can't record it, you can't leave a voice note, you can't put it in an email. You can't write. It has to be in writing. It has to be signed by witnesses. You need the witnesses' names. I advocate to my clients to please give me not just their names and surnames, their copies of their IDs as witnesses. Because you will be surprised how people get when someone dies and there's money. Or, you know, I've seen people go cuckoos for 10,000 Rand. You know, I've seen some terrible things, and it's no honor. You really do not honor the dead by after their death fight over things that quite frankly never belonged to you. It's been left to you. That's the big difference, and you should wake up to that fact. And if you're the person that's actually doing your own will and testament, you've got to think about how will your last wishes impact your family or the people you leave behind. You know, there's a lot of legacy that we do. So people leave money to SPCA or to some charity or whatever. And I always advise my clients, make sure that that charity is actually a charity, or one that's been around for generations. You know, South African Women's Federation, there's so many. I mean, the West Rand Home for Disabled, they've been going for hundreds of years, you know, since Krugersdorp actually, it's down on the plots. So, you know, you need to know who you're leaving what to. And don't think you can go and hide things. You know, you have to appoint an executor, and the job of the executor is to execute your wishes, but also to get everything you had all over into one pot so that it can be distributed to everything else. There's a lot of interesting legislation about it. And as you heard, most of those legislations are old. They're very old. They haven't really caught up to the modern life. South Africa does have a provision for a living will, where you say you don't want to be kept alive by artificial machines and stuff like that. So you can do that. But you've got to understand also that I always tell my clients, if they're married, the first 7 million rand of their estate is tax free. 3.5. So it's always best just to share your estates between husband and wife. But sometimes you'll have that the wife dies and about 30 days later the husband dies. So obviously that becomes problematic. But then it goes to the next level: your children, your grandchildren, all those kind of things. And if you die without a will and testament, you guys got to understand, it's whoever is next in line, be it your ex-wife. I've seen how estates have gone to ex-wives because you haven't updated your will. Now, the courts allow about 3 months after your divorce for you to actually update your will and testament. Right? If you haven't done it after 3 months and she's still he is still the person inheriting your estate, they will inherit your estate. There's not going to be an argument about that. Right? The courts have said 3 months and the laws have said 3 months. So, guys, it is a complex thing, but I think the only message I have right now is I've lost a lot of people in my life, my mom, my grandfather, my grandmother, and I always see it as it was my honor to witness their lives, to be in their lives, but I stood witness to their lives. I'm the one that remembers them, and I never stood in line to inherit anything, I that was never my idea. My head was ever, what am I inheriting, and a lot of people are like that. But I think you just really need to sit down, draw things up, discuss it with your families, discuss it with whoever is inheriting, tell them why. And if someone is not inheriting, tell them why. Trust me, so many court cases are pending, and it's nasty, man. It's nasty. It's nasty. Brothers don't talk to each other anymore. They bring no honor to their parents to fight over money and worldly goods, man. It's so necessary. It's so difficult to even talk about it while I'm sitting here because there's so much going through my head, and I'm trying to just keep it down. Because there's so many pitfalls if you don't do this right. So I would really, really tell you guys, go and see someone, get a will and testament, make sure it is properly signed, dot the I's, cross the T's, give it to everybody. And remember, the master also loses a lot of documents. So always make sure you've got enough copies signed and everything else. Guys, I've got your back, and I'll see you in the next session. Bye-bye.